Do you think ba na Gen Z still has the resiliency mindset?
No.
No.
Our generation, makikita mo talaga, hindi na tayo magpapa-apply. Hindi na tayo magpapa-apply. Marami pang boto dyan na hindi nagagamit. That vote in itself can spark change.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of HUDYATIN with our guest.
Hello, I'm Amira. I'm a student journalist from the Salle College of St. Benilde.
How long have you been doing student journalism?
I've been doing student journalism for like a very long time. Ever since grade 5 ako, parang pinalaki na ako sa pagsusulat in journalism. And it continued until high school, senior high, and up until now, I'm still doing student journalism.
Throughout your journalism journey, have you tried different modes of journalism or simply writing?
For me, actually, initially, I started kasi as a news writer in Filipino. And then, I transitioned into English kasi mas madali yung English actually. After that, since nag-transition na din yung tayo, like in general, sa digital landscape, na uso na yung Facebook, nagkaroon na ng mga student media na nasa social media sites na siya. Kasi dati, naabutan ko pa yung traditional type of student journalism na pen and paper talaga, na kahit pangit yung sulat ko, nagko-compete ako sa mga competition. Na feeling ko ngayon nga yung reason ba't natatalo ako. Pero nowadays kasi, student journalism, it takes on many forms. And ayun nga, in my senior high school years actually, nung time na associate editor ako, kami yung nag-transition nung student publications namin from the traditional media to digital media, which is creating websites, Facebook, and up until now, it's still up and running. So I'm kind of proud of that. And yun, pagpasok ko ng college, I discovered na, the journalism pala, hindi lang siya yung pagsusulat dito ng papel or yung pag-picture lang tapos
and it's not just about news.
Yeah, it's not just about news. There's lots of forms in student media nowadays. May mga videos na, may mga reels na. Ayun, very ngayon yung news reels. Patok siya ngayon kasi madami sa Facebook, mga tito-tita, laging nagnonood ng mga news reels. So, ako rin pala, personally, not just writing, like, nag-transition na rin ako sa pagsusulat online. Mga works ko are published through website. Like, meron na rin yung mga different types of pagpapublish ng information, hindi lang through news writing na paragraph forms. It could also be like through infographics, through statistics, and etc. So, that way, mas na-visualize ng mga tao yung information. Kasi nowadays, short yung attention span ng mga tao, di ba? Like, pag scroll ka sa TikTok, 3 seconds, 15 seconds video. So, dapat makakapture mo agad yung gusto ng mga tao, gusto makita agad nila. So, yun yung parang hinahabol natin ngayon as student journalists, like what we're trying to do to capture yung attention ng mga people. So, yun, that's another form of student journalism na I take on right now. And as well as I've also dabbled onto yung news reels that I mentioned earlier, which is doing news, pero news report in a vertical style. Kasi 'di ba, parang nakasanayan natin na news is only presented horizontally sa napapanood natin sa TV broadcasters. Nowadays, anyone can be a newscaster as long as tama yung information na sinasabi mo.
Actually, there's a lot of things na we do as journalists. Sobrang loaded lagi ng schedule natin. Or when it comes to that, when we do a lot of things, sometimes we also stumble or may hiccups din tayo. Can you share like a funny story or like a horror story na you've encountered as a journalist?
As a student journalist, very prominent sa amin yung doing interviews. So, I'm not saying horror story, pero a lot of mishaps can happen during interviews, like scheduling mga interviewees. Of course, we want to be able to talk to people that can give insights dun sa mga gusto nating isulat. And sometimes there could be mishaps with the scheduling. So, I think that's like one of the hard part in student journalism. As well as meron din yung mga biglaan, yung bigla na lang malalaman mo, may story dito, kailangan pumunta tayo. And you're somewhere out there that's very far away, but you have to go. So I think those are some of the general stuff that we experience as student journalists.
So you said that you've been a student journalist since grade 5. So I'm assuming you've been a student journalist for about 10 years. Tama?
Yes, about 10 years.
So I'm sure that you have a lot of stories to share us. To begin with, what drew you into the world of student journalism?
Initially, I didn't know anything about student journalism of what it is. Pinasok lang ako nung grade 5 English teacher ko kasi she wanted me to gain points as an honor student. I discovered na I do love writing. It ignited something in me, like this passion for writing. I'm actually good at this and I can use this skill to be able to help other people. As well as, of course, yung service to the country, to my community. I think it's my way of helping somehow, like what I can contribute to the society. So that's like what drives me to become a student journalist.
So yung heart mo when it comes to journalism comes from a heart of service.
Yes.
So is that the reason what drew you in to be a news journalist? Kasi we have entertainment writers, have a lifestyle writers, so literary. So doon ka humuhugot, kaya ka nag-news? Or have you also written for other sections of journalism?
I did try, like, kasi if you're a news writer, you could also be a feature writer as well. So, I do try, like, different facets as well. Pero para sa akin
Yung heart mo
talaga,
nasa news.
heart ko is nasa news. Like, doon ako nagsimula. Like, dati nga, I mean, grade 5 lang naman ako noon. So, like, wala naman ata akong pakialam sa news. Wala akong pakialam sa news. Pero, nung naging student journalist ako, parang doon ako namulat. Doon ko nalaman na this is what is happening in our country. What can I do about it? And like, very thankful din ako na like at a young age, naging student journalist ako dahil if not for it, I won't be as politically aware as I am right now.
Okay.
Which was, ayun, I'm very thankful for that. And that's why, kahit anong mangyari talaga, kahit saan ako ilagay na facet of student journalism in general, like arts or whatever, yung puso ko talaga babalik at babalik sa news.
Okay. So as an editor, you help shape how stories are told. How has that responsibility changed your perception on power and truth?
Being an editor in a student publication, it has more weight than just being a writer for me. Because, of course, I started as a writer like ever since then. And then when I am given like this responsibility, it becomes heavier in a way. Kasi nga, not only are you just writing, but you're also overseeing the people that are writing. I also get new perspective with writing my news. Kasi, of course, I check yung mga works nung other news writers, diba? So, nakikita ko kung paano rin nasa structure yung news nila. Like, not all of the structures is the same. And somehow, I also get to learn from them. So, I think that's like one of the privileges of being an editor. So, nag-iiba yung pananaw ko, yung pagtingin ko sa truth. Kasi, not all of us presents truth in a
And what is that
same
pananaw?
way. For me kasi, truth is like, I remembered kasi dati, there was like a seminar that I attended. They told us na in news writing, the truth is not relative or like, hindi siya yung consistent. Kasi, truth is not always what it is right now. Kasi it can also change depending on the situation. Like for example, there could be a news report na 2 truck ay nagbanggaan. Yun yung truth. Pero as time progresses, nagkakaroon ng bagong information that also becomes the truth. So yun yung pananaw ko sa truth.
For example, like it's been a week, di pa rin natin maintindihan, ano ba ang nangyari kay Fukerat? Sa airport, di ba? Parang gano'n. There's always two sides of the same story.
Kailangan tinitignan natin pareho eh. Kaya yung mga situations like yung kay Fukerat, hindi natin malalaman unless time passes, di ba? Or unless someone investigates it.
Okay.
Kaya important talaga na sometimes may mga chismosa, gano'n. may mga people na, ano ba nangyari? Important yun. So yun tayo yung student journalist na nagtatanong, ano ba yung nangyari? Para malaman natin ano ba talaga yung truth.
Okay. So would you say na it's a success on your end as a journalist if you're able to generate questions?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yun talaga yung one of the goals whenever we create stories. Stories itself, hindi kasi siya tapos dun lang sa story na yun. Like, this article is not the end of it.
Everything is a work in
Yes,
progress.
it's always a work in progress. There's always more questions to be asked. Like we do this investigative news stories para mag-ignite ng critical thinking sa mga tao. Recently did an opinion on the ghost projects. It was published like around Halloween, and I wanted to like touch upon that na the scariest horror story that we have in this country is the ghost projects in itself, because there's a lot of money poured into this and suddenly it's gone. Presenting those facts and also letting the people know about my opinion on it helps generate critical thinking, helps generate questions. Yes, this is my opinion, but being able to express it na marinig rin siya ng ibang tao, hindi ba parang mapapaisip ka din? Like, oh, I agree with her, oh, I don't agree with her. Either way, I spark conversations. And that's what we want to be able to do as student journalists. We have to spark conversations.
So, in the stories that you have covered, what kinds of stories do you feel are often missing or overlooked in student media today?
Sa tingin ng maraming tao, masama pag sinabing aktivista ka. And there
Especially with red tagging.
Yeah, especially red tagging, and of course with the anti-terrorism law na tinag na activism is terrorism, which is not.
No.
Activism is not a bad thing. It's actually a way for people to express, to fight for what is right, to let people hear their voices. But ayun nga, as they say nga, truth hurts. So maraming mga politicians out there or like mga people in power that suppresses those activism. That's why they red tag it or they give this connotation that activism is bad. As well as more on the side na kaya hindi siya masyadong na-publish in student media groups, like student media in general, hindi siya na-touch up upon more is due to the suppression of the school administrations themselves. In a report by College Editor Guild of the Philippines, I read about it in a Rappler article. Since 2010, there's like thousands of cases of news media, student media group suppressions. And like it's part of why hindi siya hinahayaan ma-publish because there's connotation that activism is bad. Where in the case, it is not. And if we look back in our history, tracing back to martial law, there was a lot of activism that was happening. There was a lot of student activists that took part in it, that made changes, that made sacrifices in order for us to be where we are right now, diba? Recently, hindi na natin yun masyado naririnig, hindi na natin siya masyado nakikita because it's being suppressed by the media, right? And ayun, so I really feel like there should be lot more coverages or lot more attention given to student activism in general. Kasi I also want to note then na student journalists themselves, they were part of the student activists that took part in the fight for martial law.
So in this tough times, a lot of the things that we see in headlines, mabibigat talaga, especially concerning the safety of the people. And you do groundwork, like you do field work, you're not just in the office. Reporting and activism can both be exhausting. So what keeps you grounded when change feels slow and invisible?
People around me in general, since they're the ones that are also doing what I am doing, so they understand me better. We understand each other very well. So knowing that there are also other student journalists beside me and also in other communities as well, hindi lang here in our school, mga other schools as well, it gives me comfort. It gives me more courage since there's a lot of us that are fighting alongside each other, diba?
And also the knowledge na makukuha ng mga readers or who consumes the media once you publish it out there.
Yeah, of course, yung mga readers namin, when I write, I always think na hindi lang ito mababasa ng community natin within, but I always think of the people outside of us na I also want them to also read this and also think, be critical about it, diba? So it really gives me grounded, and as well as it also feels fulfilling to be able to know na I was able to do something.
So of course, as we try to cover the truth and we try to cover news, ang pinaka-important in a student journalist job is objectivity. I think you could also
Yes.
agree with that one. But paminsan, we also kind of get emotional when we write. Kasi especially when these issues directly affect us. How do you balance the personal and political sides of being a student journalist when the issues you cover also affect you directly?
I think big part of why I became a student journalist is because these issues affect me directly. So as much as we are objective, it's also good that we also feel emotions. We also feel personal about it. Kasi doon nagkakaroon ng puso yung writing mo eh. Hindi pwede kasing nagsusulat ka lang just for the sake of it, di ba? If we're just here to deliver information, then parang robots lang kami, di ba? So, one of my published works is about the transportation system in the Philippines. And I really took up that work because I feel very personal about it kasi I'm a commuter myself. So I experience all of those bad experiences that are happening in our transportation system, which is why I felt very passionate about writing that certain piece kasi I'm the one that experiences it. Kaya maganda na somehow may emotion yung writing mo kasi dun mas lalong makikita ng mga tao why it matters eh.
Okay. So in short, objectivity doesn't have to sacrifice the heart.
Yes, of course.
So as someone who is a student journalist, how do you work with trying to introduce new information and new perspective foreign to your target demographic, which may be outside of their comfort zones?
Really all boils down to information itself. Like being able to present this information to them that are known by them, that are unheard of, which is why we like try to find different stories, different perspectives as well. Like for example, when I write news analysis kasi, not only do I just present the news itself, I also try to look at the news story from different facets of society. Like for example, through science, through arts, through business. Kasi I know that people in the community, like yung community natin, iba-iba sila. So we also have to be able to cater to them and pick their interests through presenting like a new type of information to them. So somehow, parang inclusivity, di ba? So we also have to include them in what we write. In a way, they also feel that they belong para mas maintindihan nila yung topic that we want to present that are unfamiliar to them.
I guess so far with our conversation, we're sobrang focused tayo on campus, on campus, on campus. In this political climate, with everything going on, how can student media move conversations beyond campus?
In your own little way, you can also be like a beacon or a harbinger of truth to other people. You can also be the source of information. Like, you can start with your own family na, oh, I read about this news, this is what is happening to our country. Like, small conversations like that. Pwede na matulungan na mailabas yung kwento like from here to outside. Na hindi lang siya within the campus, within the classrooms, but it is within us, outside of the school.
In relation to that, what's the best thing a student, like a regular student, can learn from a student journalist?
Fact-checking and
Fact-checking,
research, of
okay.
course. Like, there's a lot of misinformation, fake news ngayon na kumakalat sa Facebook, mga social media sites. And especially with AI as well, so we don't know what's real, what's not. So we really have to be more critical of what we see online and also what we post and what we share online. Kasi from you yourself, di mo alam, ikaw na pala yung nagiging source of misinformation and fake news. So we have to be more critical about it.
When we're talking about politics, sobrang heated ngayon ng conversations for 2028, and I think you know this, and it's only 2025, and you know, I understand that we're at the tail end of the year, and 2026 is right around the corner. COMELEC is currently accepting voter registrations kasi nga for the SK, and it's a national thing. I just want to ask, you know, many students still aren't registered to vote. From your perspective, why does voter registration matter for Gen Z and future generations?
Gen Z and yung future generations, like, they play like a huge role, especially with the elections that are upcoming. And to give like a background yung mga previous elections, a lot of what sparked conversations, like for example, yung pink rallies, most of the people there were Gen Zs. They are the ones that are more informed, they are more
Tech-savvy.
critical, yeah, diba? So mas alam nila yung gusto nila and what we are looking for in the government. The problem was that hindi pa sila registered voters or hindi pa sila pwedeng bumoto noong time na yon. And then, fast forward to this recent elections, results were better than what we had expected. We were able to pull up better candidates to serve in our government, which a lot of those votes came from the Gen Z and the millennials. So, very important yung boto ng mga kabataan. Kasi yun yung nagpo-pull up dun sa mga better candidates that we know can serve the government better.
I feel like a lot of the students here, they support a lot of causes. May research paper kami regarding this. When we ask them about causes that they support, lahat naman sila may sinasabi, like they care about improving the quality of education, gender equality, they care about the environment. When it comes to how they understand voting, they feel that their vote wouldn't really count kasi isa lang sila. How do you respond to that kind of disillusionment within the students in the school?
If they say na their vote like doesn't matter, that's not true kasi one vote in itself has a lot of weight. Like if I vote, you vote, and a few others, that's already a lot of people that are taking a stand, that are using their rights. Kasi it's our right to vote which is, kaya tayo bumoboto para tayo, may accountability tayo, tayo naglagay ng mga tao na to in position. And if we don't vote, if we don't use that right, then parang we're just tolerating those politicians na paulit-ulit na lang mga, it's like a cycle na political dynasties.
Neutrality only really empowers the corrupt.
Yeah. So we should use that vote. Kasi if you think that your vote won't change anything, it really won't change anything kasi you're not doing anything
Diba nakita naman natin online yung the exact numbers kung ilan yung bumoto for this candidate and this candidate. In your experience, was there a candidate na you voted maybe for the local or for the national na, feeling ko hindi naman ito mananalo din pagdating ng results, even though ako pala yung just one of the few people from my barangay or from my town who voted for this candidate. Kumbaga nagulat ka na you've contributed, your one vote contributed to them being elected.
Actually, a lot of the ones I voted, I was surprised na,
especially sa party list.
Yes. They reached this, even if di sila pumasok sa Magic 12, pero the fact na ang taas nung ranking nila, masaya na ako. Pero somehow, nanghihinayang pa rin ako. Pero
it's still a long way to go.
I'm proud na we were able to do that, but I know that we can still do better. Na marami pang boto dyan na hindi nagagamit, na gamitin naman natin.
What keeps you going as a journalist?
My passion. Passion in itself for writing and my love for service.
Okay. What have you observed from the youth that convinces you that Gen Z can rise to this moment of change?
Their voices, like the youth using their voices, it's very, very powerful. Like seeing from the previous rallies that happened in our country, makikita mo talaga na ang lakas ng boses ng kabataan. And if we all use that voice, then I believe na we can spark that change that we want for our country.
Do you think ba na Gen Z still has the resiliency mindset? Na resilient naman na Filipinos
No. Our
No.
generation, makikita mo talaga na hindi na tayo magpapa-appeal. Dun sa mga empower that keeps on taking away our rights. We cannot let the same cycle keep on happening. Our generation, we're the ones to break that cycle.
As to wrap up this conversation, if you could tell every student one thing about why registering and showing up matters, what would it be?
Register and vote because your vote matters. And that vote in itself can spark change.
Ako lagi kong sinasabi sa kanila, we are privileged enough to be attending a good college and based naman sa background nila, they've all attended exclusive private schools. Sabi ko nga, yung mga nagpapakayat ka ng disinformation registered voters sila, mga rehistrado yung mga yan.
Yes.
Tapos ikaw hindi. So, wag tayo pumayag na these people have more power over us. Parang mas may say sila sa ating lipunan. Like, no, let's make use of our education. Let's make use of the knowledge that we've been taught. And then apply it by voting for the right candidates, of course.
Of course. And madali lang naman mag-register bumoto. You just have to line up what's sacrificing a few hours of your life to letting the corrupt government, take away our money, our taxes, and our rights. So just do a bit of sacrifice and register and vote in the upcoming elections.
And that is it for today's conversation. Thank you so much for being with us for today. We've gained a lot of insights from you as a student journalist. And it's very important for us to register to vote because why not grab that power? It's not just an activity for an afternoon. Kumbaga, voting, it's our constitutional right. It's what makes the country a democracy. So let's practice our democracy responsibly. So that is all for today's episode. Thank you so much for being with us for today's podcast. And make sure that to visit our social media page, Hudyat, and visit our website, hudyatnanghenerasyon.com. You can watch our other episodes for the podcast. You can check out our short form content. It contains information about the requirements when it comes to voter registration and the process of voter registration. And there's a lot of fun graphics that are going to hook you up and that are going to feed you tons and tons of information. So once again, thank you. Today, this is HUDYATIN!